Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a really long couple of years since we decided to make the move from iTunes on Podbean to YouTube with TWitWoW. And when we first started, if I remember correctly, I don't think we even had 200 subscribers. But now we've finally gotten past the 1,000 subscriber mark. We have been making plans for everything that we wanted to do, and there were things that would come up and, oh yeah, let's start this new series, but oh wait, you know what, let's hold off, let's do it when we hit 1,000 subs and that kind of stuff. We finally hit it. We want to thank everybody so much for subscribing, for giving us things to talk about, for helping us to kind of cover everything that we like to cover, for being loyal and talking to us and being friendly with us. And I legitimately do feel like TwitWoW has one of the best, most open, welcoming, and accepting communities that I've ever seen on any wrestling YouTube channel ever. And I'm extremely gracious to all of you. And of course, as usual, I'm not the only one here.
What's up, guys? What's going on? Huge, huge. Last I checked, 1,008 subscribers. You guys are absolutely incredible. When you start something, and Ashton, I've always said, like, this is his brainchild, this is his baby, because he came to me with it. You never really know what it's going to germinate into. Sometimes you think, oh, this may be fun for a little while, and then maybe it kind of tampers off, or maybe it really does become something. And in our case, it really was the latter. It took a lot of time, it took a lot of effort, but we finally got there, and it's just amazing. And what you said, Ashton, about the communities, I think is absolutely true. I mean, you go to most YouTube communities, and it seems so vitriolic or trollish or just mind-numbing. And I'm just so fortunate. We're just so fortunate to have the kind of community of people that are so encouraging, so engaging, so thoughtful, and yeah, just the best wrestling fans on the web today, without a doubt.
Yeah, and I mean, really, just to kind of take a little bit of a look behind the scenes, John, you can attest to this. On Monday, when we put out the first ever episode of the newly crowned TitWow, I was horrified because we have been doing these long form, hour long reviews for years now. That's basically what we grew our audience on. And now all of a sudden we're going to put out a quick 7-8 minute video just brushing over things that happened on any given show. And my immediate thought is, oh God, people are going to hate it. It's going to get ripped to shreds. Everyone's going to tell us that we suck and we're going to lose subs and we're going to drop to like 900 again and it's going to be horrible.
Yeah, I mean, he was stressing big time, guys. But again, that's what we talk about when we say the community. You guys were so encouraging. And I really feel like we have the type of community that if there were any critical people, their criticism would be constructive.
Oh yeah,
And
and
that's the
that's what
kind
I
of
love
comments. Yeah.
too, is like there's nothing wrong with criticism. What's
Right.
wrong is this sort of mindless, thoughtless criticism where people just say things to hurt people rather than being constructive and actually trying to help, which is, I feel
Yeah.
like, in the TwitWoW comments section for a long time now, pretty much since we moved the podcast over to the YouTube channel, which I don't know how many of you noticed. John, I don't think you even noticed this, but up until this week, the name of the YouTube channel was still Ian Izzle.
Right.
And this
Right.
week, this past weekend, I went in and I changed it to TwitWoW because it's not my channel anymore; it's our channel.
Right. It's really become this big collaborative effort. I mean, anybody that knows me and knows my history here knows that my days as, being a solo shooter on pro wrestling, they're long gone, by choice. Because I know I even still get people asking, oh, you come back. I don't want to come back. Like, I just feel like you've become a part of me as far as wrestling commentaries are concerned. Being solo would just be weird. Like, I'd be missing something. It
I
really is
agree,
true.
and that's why well, not even this past, but a couple days ago on Tuesday, when this big Roman Reigns news came out, if I really wanted to capitalize on it, I could have just, gotten on here, recorded a solo commentary and put it up, but I just wouldn't feel right making a commentary without John. And I I called him. I don't ever call anyone ever. I usually text people, but I called John in a panic and left a voicemail on his phone that he only got like I don't know, like 10 minutes later, and it was while he was finishing up an episode of Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, great season so far, guys. No spoilers, but yeah, I mean, I caught it, and the timing couldn't have been any crazier, and yet likewise, it couldn't have been any better. And we were able to bang out that commentary, which the viewership has been wonderful. And again, thank you guys for that. Like, that's what I really want to emphasize is like, you guys made this just as possible as our collective efforts have done. Because without your validation, without your affirmation that TWitWoW is indeed a good thing, we would not be here. And what a strong affirmation you've given, and I'm so grateful for that. But yeah, it's like the collaborative effort that you and I have really done here, just our chemistry and everything. And I still think we're getting better. I feel like our last few long-form TwitWows that we've done, that I've made a concerted effort to be, more conversational on this and that. I feel like we're only upping our game even after all this time. Yeah. So, and I'm just so grateful that people recognize that effort and they appreciate that effort and they, encourage that effort. It's just absolutely wonderful.
Absolutely. I mean, since you kind of brought it up, the going back to the beginning, guys, I know a lot of people are only with us because of Lucha Underground, believe it or not. We have a lot of people that are just huge Lucha Underground fans, and we were one of, if not the first entity on YouTube to cover Lucha Underground. We were on the Lucha Underground bandwagon as of episode 2. And I mean, yeah, we watched episode 1 a few days after it came out, but we didn't even know what it was or if we were going to like it. But once I saw it, and then I was like, John, you've got to check this out. And we watched it together, episode 1. We were all aboard. It was like, yes, we need to review this. This is amazing. This is going to be so good. Episode 2 rolls around. We watch that, and when we review first 2 episodes, it's received incredibly well. And we haven't looked back. We have not looked back. It's been an amazing ride. Lucha Underground has been incredible, and it's done so much for us. We've gotten multiple plugs on the show itself, both of which are actually uploaded as clips on the YouTube channel right now, which luckily we haven't gotten hit with copyright strikes for those yet. I hope we won't. But, it's so cool that a lot of people have been with us only because of Lucha Underground, but what a lot of people that have been with us in that short time don't know is that we've been doing this since 2011.
Yeah, I mean, that is insane. You think 5 years, TwitWoW has been a thing. It's almost, that is half a decade. When you put it in that perspective, it really does hit you a certain kind of way. And yeah, I mean, knowing in all that time that we've finally gotten to this point where we are a channel, collaboratively on YouTube that's over 1,000 subs, it's an exhilarating feeling, to know that hard work pays off. And yeah, Lucha Underground reviews, the community there that has really come because of our Lucha reviews, just absolutely unbelievable. We freaking love the show. And you've arrived as a podcast when you get shouted out twice on a program as beloved and, as wanted and desired as Lucha Underground, because it's the best thing going right now.
Yeah, and just kind of going back to the beginning, John, do you want to kind of talk about how we met back in 2011?
Well, I mean, it was because I know before we met, before the Horsemen, which is the big thing that stands out in my mind, it was just me, Preston, and Alex, as you guys know, those associations. And then I think you were a fan of my videos when I was, I think, was I Vocal
Pacifist.
Aggression at the time? I was Pacifist when you were a fan at the time. I was
Brother,
Pacifist.
I came up with the name Vocal Aggression for you.
That's right, you did. Yeah, more about this guy later, because I got a bit I want to say. But yeah, he liked my videos, he commented, and, he told me he was getting ready to make commentaries at one point. I was excited, because I was still in the mindset of the time, we always need more contributors, and I still do believe that. Anybody who wants to start making wrestling videos, I'd definitely be intrigued. Yeah. Always nice to hear a new voice.
And Ecstasy, I'm looking at you too, man. You always disagree with so much stuff that we say. I still want you to start making videos, man. I want to be able to comment negative things on your videos.
Yeah, I think I called him out once, like, dude, just make your own videos. Why? Like, what are you doing to me? But yeah, Ash would comment a lot, and then when he's like, oh, I want to make videos, and I think you showed me like a trailer or an intro, and like I got pumped, and I was plugging you for like weeks and weeks, much to the chagrin of some people.
And the first thing that you knew about me was I sent you my blog, because I had and still technically do have a wrestling blog that I used to post on a little bit more regularly.
Guys, I've said it consistently, and I'll keep saying it probably until I'm put in the grave. The best wrestling mind that I encounter on a regular basis. That blog, which, TwitWoW does occupy like all the time, and I still, part of me wishes it would get updated more because his ideas, which I'm grateful that I actually allow him to show more now that I've learned to shut up. Just so wonderful. Such a sharp mind for the business. I mean, I remember your five. What was your four face theory or
Yeah,
your five face
four.
theory?
It's four.
Four
Yeah.
four face theory. Yeah, and just blog posts like that or pulling a Triple H. That was a great one. Like, I could just drink in his ideas all day. You're talking about a guy, because the thing about how Ashton's mind works, which I'm privileged to know this because of how much time we spend together, really breaks things down, just relentlessly analytical. And you're talking about a guy that did a blog post like tracing the relationship of Chris Jericho and CM Punk before Chris Jericho's second day of 2012 kind of arrival. And that was one of your most popular posts, actually. So,
That
yeah, I
was
mean,
not even one of. That was the most popular post by far. That got picked up on Bleacher Report, and people were commenting on it there too.
see, I actually forgot about that part. See, that's how incredible it was. Like, yeah, so from the jump, as soon as I saw some of his writing, I'm like, oh my God, if he can translate this into video form, we have a very interesting commentator here. And I was plugging you like relentlessly. Again, I know because I did get some backlash for it. Like, oh, he hasn't made anything yet. Why are you doing this? But like, I saw something in Ashton that I continue to see to this day that I'm like, more people need to hear him, more people need to see his opinions. And so that's how our relationship, really got started. You were a fan of mine. I knew that you were ready to kind of make a splash of your own. And, I wanted to help you with that. And then after a while, because you had made some commentaries, you did a series about your own like fantasy promotion, which I know was well received.
Yeah.
Who could forget your debut video? You are all marks,
Well,
which
yeah, and that I was coming off of having watched the Al Snow the U shoot interview that Al Snow did, and he got me all flustered inside, and he made me think like, damn man, we're all marks. It's not just the casual fans that cheer the good guys and boo the bad guys. It's all of us.
absolutely, yeah, and
And
that's
that's kind of where that came from. And honestly, I think, and I really shouldn't be saying this because it'll encourage people to go back and watch it, and it was cringy as hell, but I still have all of that content still up on the channel.
I remember the first thing I told you. It looked like a bar setup out of Cheers or something, and you just
I'm
look.
not even joking when I tell you, John, it is a bar. It actually is a bar in my basement.
That's right. You did tell me that, and
Yeah,
I had the
it's a bar.
biggest shit-eating grin on my face at that combo. And then
Yeah,
the whole
because
you're a thing.
the whole first thing was I did the You Are All Marks commentary, and then I had a bunch of series in mind that I wanted to make. Like I wanted to do Fave 5 Fridays and Top 10 Tuesdays, and there was another series that I was doing where it was like a challenge that you laid out that was like, I want somebody to make 100 commentaries on 100 different wrestlers in 100 days, and I was going to try and do that, but all three of those series lasted a grand total of like 2 weeks, and I'm really just that horrible with scheduling and trying to meet deadlines that I just basically gave up on them and just kind of started putting out commentaries when I wanted to.
See, but that's crazy. I kind of have to stop you there because, like, I know as pacifist that I was horrible about like scheduling and guys. I'm gonna start this series. 2 episodes later, wasn't really feeling it, guys.
Yeah.
Love you, but but yet two guys like that allegedly share this mindset. I think we're consistent as fuck.
We
Like,
are, and that's the thing though. That's because we put even if it's unspoken, we put pressure on each other to be clutch about that kind of stuff.
oh, guys, I mean, again, like I said, I wanted to talk more about Ashton because my thing is, like, I know people really appreciate me, like the live reactions, the crazy markouts, this and that. Like I said on Facebook, because we had a little celebration on Facebook about it. Ashton does so much to keep this going, and I really want to take this video to say the same thing. Like, he makes sure the videos get encoded. He makes sure they get uploaded. He makes sure that we hash out a schedule. Like, oh, can you meet up here? He comes up with all the video ideas. He comes up with the T-shirts and the things you're going to hear about today. Were originally his brainchild. As much as I love this and I have fun with this, like, I just show up and I just give my honest opinion. He is a fucking workhorse. He is the heart and soul of this thing. This is his baby. Like, my attention's a million places at once. He has got a focus on this thing that has really taken us to this level. There'd be no 1,000 subs without the work effort of this guy.
Well,
Like,
and I'm telling you
so
right
much.
now, there'd be no 1,000 subs with you either because, like I just said a couple seconds ago, you motivate me to keep going.
Right. Yeah. I think. Yeah.
You being around and kind of being there for me to bounce ideas off of and stuff like that, that really encourages me to not just kind of lay back and just let it be as it will. Because it might be kind of weird because of how much I do analyze everything. I'm one of the most laid back people you're ever going to meet. If something horrible happens, I find ways to compartmentalize and just be like, oh, well, that sucks. Oh, well, let's move on.
Yeah.
I legitimately try my hardest, and it seems contrary and it seems kind of counterintuitive, but I really legitimately do try to just not let anything get me really like rustle my jimmies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and see, like, it's funny again, like, how it all works, though, because I'm the exact opposite. Like, anybody that really knows me very intimately, like, I say it as a joke, but I'm very curious, like, if there is something really there. I've always joked, like, I probably have some kind of undiagnosed anxiety disorder, because I'm
Which
somebody.
is
So,
ridiculous. That is legitimately ridiculous because when we're together, our personalities switch. I become the worrier and you become the, fuck it, whatever.
yeah, like, no, seriously, guys, because there will be times, like, Ash will get frustrated. I'll be like, dude, whatever time you need to meet up, like, I'm good. It's fine. Like, I don't know. It's funny the things that I stress about. Like, I'll read something and be like, fuck, that's depressing, and then I'll try and move on, but I can't. And you know what, guys? Like, it's funny because, again, Ashen is such a fun, like, does all the technical and promotional. Like, anybody that knows me, again, knows my attention's diverted. I do have other interests. I do have other projects that I'm probably more heavily involved in. But I will say, like, TwitWoW and just talking wrestling with you, like, that's where I decompress. Like, any other project I've got going on, I'm able to come here and know that that's like in the back of my mind, and I'm just able to relax and have a good time with my friend and talk wrestling.
Yeah.
So it's been such a great space for me because there is stuff that I'm heavily involved in that I'm probably exhibit more of the qualities that you have with TwitWoW in those projects. But like, I come here and I do try and help you the best I can. And for me though, it's like I have so much fun here. Like, if we see a really good Raw, I'm excited about the discourses that ensue between you and I. If it's a really bad Raw, I can't wait for you and I to be assholes and see how many, offensive jokes we can make in the span of an hour and a half.
Yeah, like
So,
one of my big goals on any given episode of TwitWoW is to get you to just lose your mind. Just
oh my
those ridiculous guttural laughs that you manage to pull off sometimes when I actually say something funny rather than just you laughing to shut me the hell up.
God.
That's my goal on most episodes of TwitWoW, because if you think something is that funny, then I know that a lot of our audience is going to find it funny too. And the whole goal here, people, is to be entertaining. If we're not entertaining you, we're not doing our jobs.
I mean, you know that you have a good podcast partner when you can tell him that one of your funniest WWE moments was seeing Zach Gowen's good leg get F5'd into a ring post, and he just kind of shrugs and he's like, I can work with that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's a magical wheelchair. Zach throws him down the stairs. Oh, so good.
So
So good.
just to kind of get back on track a little bit, we started in, I believe, December of 2011 was our first episode. I don't remember the exact date.
I think you're right, because I remember you would come to me,
Yeah.
and you had said, John, it'd be so good. Like, how do you feel about doing a podcast? And of course, like, again, those who know me intimately, I'm not afraid to talk about it. I was with Preston at the time. We had a channel. I think it was Beer Money 2K, probably, because I think that was our longest standing channel.
Yep.
And
you guys had
we,
what, 400 or 500 subs then?
yeah.
Because I know on Pacifist you were in the 900s.
Yeah, Pacifist, I was on the 900s and climbing, and then stupid drama and really poor decisions and all that stuff just tanked that. So then we rebuilt with Beer Money 2K because I loved Robert Roode, he loved James Storm, the rest is to say is history, and we did Wrestling Potpourri. But then you come along and you're like, hey, how great would it be if we did our own podcast? I'm like, well, I really like Ashton, and I was still in the spirit where I was all about like, making that wrestling content, doing whatever I could. So I'm like, yeah, and Ashton here came up with the name TwitWoW because we were coming up with names back and forth. I wonder if we came up with any really horrible ones that I wish I remembered.
I know,
So,
like I wish that we could just kind of like go back in time and just look at our computer screens while we were trying to figure out names.
and I think from our first episode, because look, anytime you start something, which is kind of what we're talking about, even with TitWoW recently,
Right.
there are going to be bugs and there are going to be things to work through. But I even think from the word go, like it wasn't a perfect episode, but we knew it was going to work long term.
Right. Yeah, we had an instant chemistry, and we had already done some work together too. Because if you'll remember, the one blog post that I made was about how the developmental system was the root of all of the WWE's problems, and then we ended up turning that blog post into a commentary where we both were talking about it, and it was kind of in a similar format to TWitWoW in the sense that I was kind of the presenter and you were kind of the reactor.
Right, exactly. And it's funny because I remember you told me, and this is one of the things that stood out to me, like one of the reasons why you thought we could work. And I think people have even seen it, even in our more recent like TWitWoW episodes, because we have the ability to just go all the way around the track. We could have a starting point, and yet we could end up at like point Z in like 5 minutes. And
You being the masterful word craftsman that you are, find a way to bring it back every time.
And that's what you said to me. And I remember the first, if it wasn't the first, definitely in our earlier episodes, we were talking about the episode where Brian, because he was the number one contender for the World Heavyweight title and Mark Henry was still champion, they had a talking segment. Henry had his leg in a cast. He was injured at the time. And the segment ended with him stepping on Henry's foot. And we were talking about that segment and we went off on a tangent. I was somehow able to bring it back to that, and you messaged me on Skype. You're like, that's how this works. Like, that's how we do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I knew we were going to be golden long term.
And it's funny too, because dude, like, if you go back and try to listen to our older content, I've tried and I struggle because of how horrible the audio quality is.
Right.
Now, granted, the audio quality now isn't incredible by any means, but there's no like obnoxious white noise happening in the background. You can clearly hear what we're both saying. It's relatively crisp, but back then it was so bad. And I just look forward to 2 years later. Hopefully, we both have better audio equipment by then. So.
Oh, dude. Well, I'll tell you now because I think you knew this anyway. But after our first G1 climax, which oh my god, it's getting ready to happen again soon. All those Jaeger bombs I'm going to be bringing down. My audio equipment, like my headphones and stuff, everything was just falling apart.
Yeah.
And it was so frustrating because we had to get through the tournament. Not to mention my anxiety was exacerbated tenfold because I had family there at the time. And so I talk to Christy, I'm like, look, TWitWow's getting big. This is our first G1 climax. Like, big stuff's happening here. And so we invested in me for a snowball mic. And I've been using this ever since. Yeah. And I love the sound of it because, I've even recorded stuff like separate from this and, playing it back. I don't think I've ever sounded better. And I'm just hoping this lasts a good while. And if I would ever need a new one, it would be at least affordable because, yeah, I love this. So, yeah, I mean, that's the lengths we go, guys. Like, I had so many breakdowns on my end with audio equipment and I've just kept committed because I want you guys to be able to understand me and all of my salt about, Zack Ryder and all that stuff. So, yeah, Snowball Mike has just been wonderful. But I'll tell you, man, like, it wasn't always like that. I think, when we first started, I was probably still using one of those, like, Logitech headsets. Or it may have been that I was still using the built-in mic, because I don't know if I was still using my shitty-ass Vista at the time.
Yeah, that was right. Yeah, you had a Vista. That's right.
I was a Vista user, people. It's painful. Yeah, and we were really, growing on iTunes, which you consistently, put the money in, and again, like, that's the thing. That's how much he, and Ashton believed in TWitWoW, is just like he put his money behind it. And we were really growing. And then I just kind of, tampered off for 6 months. I just, disappeared. I was going through a lot at the time, and I just, whole world just shut down for me. And it was a bad time because we were really building the momentum, and I recognize that. But, we want to talk about history. That is a part of our history. And, I'm not ashamed to talk about it. It was rough. And I know, like, you were reaching out to me, your mom was reaching out to me, like, where'd John go? What happened? I just went off the face of the earth. I had a lot of figuring things out to do because family was in a really bad way. I'm in a much better place now, guys. I've lived in New Hampshire 2 years. I have never been happier or healthier, I might add. I am a sexy beast, people. But then I'm fucking gorgeous. But no, in all seriousness, I was like, what do I want to do? Because I was so burned out from my family and school. And, it was around the time that I, discovered some passions that really just reinvigorated me. And I'm like, okay, I'm in a good place, but am I ready to face him yet? Because I felt so weird because I knew, like, people were reaching out and stuff. And, Ashley was one of them. And I'm like, can I face him? Can we talk about it? And I shot him a message and I'm like, okay. I think I even, like, made you a video to kind of just reintroduce myself, kind of re-immerse into the water. And I'm like, I'm here. If you really want to talk, if you really want to do this, let's do it. And then, you and I, we got back together. And I think it wasn't long after that the YouTube years really did start.
Well, if I remember correctly, you went off the grid at the beginning of 2013.
Right.
It was the first 6 months of 2013, basically.
Right.
Because I know that the last conversation we had prior to your absence was on Christmas Day 2012.
Right.
And then you just completely disappeared, and you got back to me for the first time in June of 2013.
Yeah, it was.
And the biggest reason I remember that is because you basically missed Big E Langston's entire NXT title run and most of Bo Dallas's.
Yeah, I missed so much on NXT and the wrestling front. In fact, I don't even know if I was watching wrestling during that period, because again, I was going through so much at the time. I felt so burned out, and yeah, this guy, he never even really left my thoughts. I remember one time I was out in the kitchen and the Falcons were playing, and I think it was a playoff game, and I was thinking about it. I'm we're both probably rooting for the Falcons. I think they lost that game, so we can't be that sentimental.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a touching thing, and they even won the game, but no, I think they lost. Wow, that's depressing.
That year, if it was against the Seahawks, we won, but if it was against the 49ers, we lost.
Yeah, I don't remember, but then we reconvened, and we knew iTunes wasn't just gonna be viable because you're putting so much in.
And in the meantime, I was paying $20 a month this whole time to keep the podcast on iTunes.
Right. And then we're let's just switch to YouTube. We'll build a base from there. And
that wasn't until almost a year after you first came back.
Oh, so we still did iTunes for a little bit, because I knew we did.
Well, no, not even. I ended up stopping. Yeah, actually, we had it on iTunes until we switched over to YouTube, which was May of 2014.
Okay.
But we were doing live reactions videos up until then, just for pay-per-views.
Right. Yeah, just crazy, and I've just really been so happy with the transition to YouTube. I mean, obviously, again, over 1,000 subs. You look at our weekly audience, for our Lucha Underground reviews especially, our Raw reviews, all that stuff. Roman Reigns commentary did great when we were able to do it. So, yeah, it's been, a great platform. And just thinking about the growth and how TWitWoW happened and just all that stuff. The catchphrase, too, Ashton came up with, and again, if you guys like the catchphrase, you say it with me, go on Teespring, buy the shirt. It's an amazing looking design, very Seth Rollins-esque to me. So if you want to look good and you want to support TWitWoW at the same time, boy, do we have a shirt for you.
Right, and that's the thing, too, is, with the inception of TWitWoW back in 2011, this was when I was really going through one of my I want to consume as much content as possible phases with wrestling. And
right.
I was listening to all kinds of podcasts. There was the After Buzz for Raw. I want to say, I forget what it was called. Was it? Oh, there was on Grantland. There was a podcast on Grantland about wrestling. I forget what it was called. And then there was another one that had Arda Ocal and Jimmy Corderas on it. And that one had two different names. I don't remember what the names were. I'm really awful at remembering names of podcasts, but regardless, I was listening to a bunch of different podcasts, and it was kind of going through a phase where everything was kind of just in general really negative, and everyone was kind of shitting on the show. And you and I, whenever we got together, we talked about how we enjoyed it, and we wanted to talk about how good it was. And that was kind of the moment where it literally just randomly one night I was laying in my room and it hit me oh my God, I can do this better than these people, and I can be more entertaining, and I can do it with John, and it would be awesome. So then the next day was when I came to you with the idea for TWitWoW.
Yeah, we were the OGs of POP, people. Power positivity.
And true. Yeah, that is actually not even far from the truth.
And you know what's funny, dude? And again, this is just me being honest, or at least my interpretation of the history, which, I mean, granted, I've clearly forgot some key dates, and I apologize about that, but that's why you're here. I feel like that wasn't, at least by our peers in terms of other people that did podcasts or commentaries, it left them in a kind of state of bewilderment that we'd be so positive.
Oh my God, dude, tell me, honestly, because this was when the four horsemen, you, me, Preston, and Alex, were all pretty hunky-dory. We were all, we hung out in Skype calls for hours at a time on an almost daily basis. We were good friends. And then I felt like when you and I started doing TWitWoW, we started doing these reviews, that was actually one of the biggest things that kind of drove a wedge between the four of us, because it kind of put you and me on one side of the fence, and they were on the other side of the fence, and they thought stuff sucked, and we thought it was good. And, there was some kind of a mental divide where we couldn't handle each other having different opinions about wrestling.
Let me tell you something, folks. You look at the four horsemen of the YWC, that should have been an E! True Hollywood story. I mean, for fuck's sake. It was just crazy to me. But I'll tell you what, that whole experience, and I'm not even trying to be cheesy here, I'm being 100% sincere, really taught me about the power of perception. Because I used to think that that was some, like, new age shit. But no, like, us being positive and us doing TWitWoW really made me enjoy wrestling so much more than being around the negativity and
Right.
people that are just like, oh no, this sucks, or how could you like this? This was shit. And I'm like, dude, chill. Like,
Well, and I can even attest to that regarding Reddit. Like, if you go on Reddit during a Raw that Reddit specifically doesn't like, it will make you dislike the Raw because they were always going to bring up everything that's bad about the show, and you don't even really have time to think about what you actually enjoy.
yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like, TWitWoW came in at a time when the YouTube wrestling community, the whole culture about it was very negative. If you weren't doing negative commentaries or if you didn't have a negative view of the product, it seemed almost like you were an anomaly.
Which is
And
funny because on SmackDown specifically, that was really, really high quality stuff. Like, that was the reign of Mark Henry and then Daniel Bryan.
yeah, yeah. And that's another thing too. I feel like even like for people that did express positivity, it had to be a certain way or for a certain guy or for a certain thing. So
Yeah.
even that was very heavily qualified.
Yep.
And you and I came into this mindset. Now, granted, recent Raws sometimes make it very difficult to do, even though I do feel like the product's improved in some ways, especially, I mean, Dean Ambrose is champion, so that's always a good time.
Yeah.
But, back then we were really committed to silver linings to everything. If we don't like how something works, let's talk about how we can make it work, which, again,
Yeah.
I loved because, as I said earlier in this commentary, reading Ashton's blog, my main thing was I want to see this guy's opinions be seen everywhere because I just loved how your mind worked and how you viewed things and how you broke things down. So I'm like, let's do it. And it was like our crusade of positivity was just met with, oh, you guys are doing that? Like, what is this? And it's just like, come on, man. Like, stop busting my balls here. We're trying. It was just crazy to me, at least at first, like, by, again, those peers, not really so much our fans, because I think our fans always dug it and they dug our approach, but, people that did commentaries like us, it was almost like we were a three-headed hydra or something because we chose that approach. It was crazy.
Well, and the crazy thing too was at first we were on Podomatic, which, from what I remember, they charge a ludicrous amount of money monthly if you want unmetered bandwidth. Because of course, really learning the ropes of podcasting, I was completely clueless, and I just bought the most basic, cheapest package that I could on Podomatic for us to be on iTunes. And once we reached a certain level of popularity, people were unable to listen to the podcast after a certain amount of people had already listened to it because we had a limited amount of bandwidth. And that crushed me. So I immediately said, John, we need to do something about this. I can't afford to pay more. What are we going to do? And he and I spent hours looking for a different podcast hosting website. We eventually landed on Podbean, which had a $20 package with unmetered bandwidth. And we were just ecstatic with that, but that's still $20 a month, and my job wasn't exactly well paying at the time. I worked at a grocery store, and it was just kind of it worked out well. And the cool thing too is that, like, we were getting into the hundreds of viewers. We were getting over 100 relatively consistently, and it was all through iTunes. But I think that the one thing about that I'm not a huge fan of is the lack of feedback. Because even the reviews, like, we would put out 4 to 8 episodes of TWitWoW monthly, and I think that even to this date, we only have like 5 or 6 reviews on iTunes.
Yeah, which all were very positive, mind you.
Right, which was great, and that's awesome, and it's really cool that people enjoyed it, and that kind of was helping us to know, like, okay, we're doing well, we know what we're doing, we're not completely in over our heads. But still, like, it's one of those things where now that we're on YouTube and we get comments on every video, it's a life-changing experience to go from 6 reviews over a multiple year period to probably a minimum of 6 comments for every single thing you put out.
Right. And me, like, even as pastor, like, the one thing I always craved was conversation. Like,
exactly. That's all we've ever wanted, is for other people to hear our opinions and talk to us about them. That's what it comes down to.
Exactly. And, everybody, look, if you get in front of a camera or in front of a microphone, in case, you did like I used to do back in the day, just still images with just audio, and you put it out there for the public, then even if you're not explicitly saying, guys, talk to me, it is an implicit goal that you have.
Right.
And, that's clearly a goal that we had. And I'm just so happy with how everything has turned out, because you look at the feedback, especially on, a given episode of like Raw, Lucha Underground, or NXT, where it could be like 15 comments and people could bring up, oh, well, what if Pentagon's really this? Or, oh, what if this is the answer? Or what if they do this with Seth Rollins? And I just love seeing the insights of people, because nobody does something like this just so they can hear themselves talk.
Right.
I mean, maybe me sometimes, but that's another story for another time.
Well,
But,
I mean, John, I can't speak for you, but personally, the main reason I wanted to start doing YouTube in the first place was because I felt like nobody that was talking about wrestling was sort of presenting their opinions in a way that I could 100% agree with. It's kind of like, in the presidential race, you might not necessarily agree with everything certain people say, but you can't run for president yourself unless you have certain resources. Well, on YouTube, if you can't find anybody that 100% agrees with you, or that you can at least, listen to and agree with most of what they say, you can start your own channel and put your own opinions out there. That's what's beautiful about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so great about this community, even with all the changes that YouTube's undergone. Like, if you just really wanted to throw your hat in the ring, you could do that. I mean, that's what made me enthusiastic about making wrestling videos at the beginning, because I would hear people that I really enjoyed, and I'm like, well, hey, I love wrestling too. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to do this.
Right.
And, even with my minimal capabilities, because again, I had a Vista, really scarring times. And I just had this one still image and I would record. But to go from that to be able to collaborate with somebody in Ashton who makes amazing fucking backgrounds, who, I think both of our audios, like we said, early on, it's sufficient enough that you guys can understand us, which is wonderful. And the discussions are always so rich and so engaging to me. And if we're visceral, we're visceral, and if we love it, we love it. That's another thing I love about TWitWoW. Like, you and I have always gone 100%. I don't think we've ever patted asses. I don't think we've ever pulled back punches. We've always just been 100% honest about how we feel about something.
Yeah.
And I really do. Like, it may sound like I'm exhibiting hubris, and that's fine, but I really do believe we're two of the best guys to do this, on YouTube, because I think, you can feel our passion. You can feel our commitment, and just the mediums we've expanded to and all that stuff. Like, I think our fans know we're there. We're just 100%. I love it.
Absolutely. And you know what? I feel like we've gone on for a really long time. John, do you have anything else that you wanted to talk to our fans about?
Just thank you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the fans and the friends that we've made. And that's another thing, too. It's one thing when you have, like, a fan of a product, but so many of you are so passionate and so involved in what we do. Those that follow me on Twitter, Jackie, Ella, DBK, Caltag Star, like all those guys who I love interacting with you guys.
Alex Foster, PW Gregory.
Alex Foster is such a cool dude, and like he'll have his little antagonisms, like, oh, that KO win, or he won't say it exactly like this, but oh, that KO win didn't go exactly like you wanted, or he'll do it in some cutesy way, and I'm like, grr, Foster. But yeah, he is such a cool dude. Just everybody.
PW Gregory.
PW Gregory, the chillest motherfucker, and somebody whose sense of humor just gets me in such a way. I'll never forget him tweeting about the Edge of Christian show. Oh my god, he eviscerated that show so bad. Yeah, he has a great sense of humor. That's another one. BX Girl HS.
Yep.
Huge Sasha Banks fan. Gotta love her there.
S-Bound?
S-Bound, yeah. Oh, Nestbound.
Yeah.
Nestbound, so substantive with his feedback and his comments. I love. Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, he's not in Tweetoff anymore, but we can't forget Lee Clark, old wrestling fan LC.
Hey, Lee, who I still think is a great guy and a good man. I even, told him so. We had a little private discussion about that, after he left Tweetoff. I still think he's a cool dude. Huge, Bray Wyatt fan. Huge AJ Styles fan. That's who he's a mark for, and I love it. He is to AJ Styles what I am to Johnny Mundo. Speaking of Johnny Mundo, I don't know if it's Brandon Beast or Brandon Best.
Best.
It's Best. Okay, I knew it was one or the other. That's another one. I remember his comment recently. Oh, I love Johnny Mundo like you do. He's so much better than everyone else. Sir, you are 100% right.
Well,
So,
and not to mention, I mean, you're going through a lot of people that we've made what we would consider to be friends to a degree with. But I mean, let's not even forget how many people that we sort of look up to and that we see as almost superiors that still are fans of TWitWoW.
absolutely. Are there any names you would like to thank? 'Cause I know I spouted off a lot.
I mean, just yesterday, Thunder Rosa, who plays Cobra Moon in Lucha Underground, tweeted us that we make her happy and that she listens to our show and that she followed us on Twitter.
One of the sweetest people you will ever interact with, guys.
She's
I mean,
awesome. Yeah, Marty the Moth listens to TWitWoW, people. He's amazing.
he
Jack
actually.
Evans has listened to episodes. Johnny Mundo has listened to at least 1 or 2 episodes of TWitWoW before.
I know. Yeah, so.
It's so funny, too, because when we first started getting Twitter interactions with Lucha Underground stars, like, really early on when we were covering Lucha Underground, we would get likes and retweets from, like, Cortez Castro, aka Ricky Reyes. We would get stuff from Hijo del Fantasma, who plays King Cuerno. We would get little stuff like Katrina, Carly Perez would like and retweet some of our stuff. It was awesome. But at one point I said, John, what are you going to do if it turns out Johnny Mundo listens to TWitWoW? And he basically said, die. And then it turns out he actually has listened to at least an episode or 2.
Yeah, and I was so pessimistic about it because Ash would be like, "So what are you gonna do if that happens?" And I'm like, "Dude, don't be ridiculous. Like that's not gonna happen." I said that because like I would even hear like he's not that active on social media, though I definitely think he's upped his presence in recent years. And then just to get that mention, I'm like, "Oh my god, best day ever."
Yeah, we've had Jack Evans, Eva Lise, and Cobra Moon all post comments on YouTube, not just Twitter, but on YouTube on our videos before. And to the point that like we could actually go to their channels and verify that it actually is them.
Yes, and what an amazing group of people. Lucha Underground as a whole, and I've said this before, it's like a family of individuals and so supportive of what we do. I gotta thank Marty only recently having my back against the Facelock Feministas. Lady J gonna sass me on her podcast. I hear you. I hear you. I see you. And yeah, he's just like, TWitWow's the best. Oh, they can't be the best. They're boy. No, they're men. That's right, Marty. That's right, Marty. That's right. I fucking love Marty the Moth. You heard it here, and we have both said he's going to be a future world champion. So when we're right, let me pull out the calculator for the millionth time. You're all welcome. So yeah, Marty's amazing. Thunder Rosa, very sweet, and Eva Lise. One bad bitch. I've gotten into heated Twitter exchanges with her, people. You don't win. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. Don't try. Don't be a hero. It doesn't work. So yeah.
Well, and not to mention, we're not gonna actually bring up any specific names because we still want you guys to have a little fun with the guessing game. But we do have 2 very special guests that will be joining us who work in /for/with, again, trying to be as vague as possible, Lucha Underground, who will be joining us for Lucha Rewatch Season 2.
That's going to be amazing, guys. I'm staying tight-lipped about that, but that is going to be premier content, to say the least. It's just amazing, just the outreach that, TWitWoW has had, the people that we've been able to connect with, even on that level within the business. When you can say that, it just feels absolutely amazing. And again, that wouldn't have been possible without the amazing feedback of you guys to even have a base to make us recognizable to other people. Yeah. And, we did this together. It's funny because my intro is always the best, wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans by wrestling fans. But as you'll see, like I'll say on Twitter, the best wrestling fans on the web today definitely belong to TWitWoW, and it's not even close.
When we say that it's made for wrestling fans, we mean it's made for you guys. We make TWitWoW in a way that we're hoping that it's entertaining for people that consider themselves to be wrestling fans. Like, we're not, and it's kind of, if anything, it's kind of slowing the growth of the channel a little bit, but we're not trying to pander to casual fans. We're not making these super hardcore, misleading YouTube titles or descriptions or tags to try and draw extra people in. We're not having, pictures of women with big tits on the video caption and thumbnail to try and bring in viewers in. We're not talking about, different things that would probably create more of a groundswell of viewers, we're far more worried about a quality fan base, which I think we've achieved so far, than just having a massive fan base and not giving a shit about how good it is.
Oh, I completely agree with you. It's funny. Again, I mentioned earlier in the commentary, Ashton's commitment with all the stuff he does behind the scenes to make TWitWoW as great as it is. And as far as like both of us collectively, and I think Ashton know this, like, and I could say this about him too, so I know I'm preaching to the choir. We are perfectionists. Going back to our first G1 climax, it still burns my ass that we didn't get to do that one episode because New Japan Pro was late. And you know what? This year, we're going to have a perfect game. You wait, people. You fucking wait.
Well,
And
and
yes,
the crazy thing, too, is this year, not only are we going to be doing G1 English commentary, but we're also going to be doing live reactions to the Cruiserweight Classic in WWE, which happen around the same time as each other. So it's going to be an insane July and August.
yeah, guys, when I say we're doing everything this summer, it's not some hyperbolic marketing scheme. We are literally.
Honestly, I think July might be the most ridiculously stacked month in the history of TWitWoW, because not only do all 3 days of Ultima Lucha Dos fall in July, but we've got the Cruiserweight Classic starting on the 11th and G1 starting on, I believe, the 18th.
Right. Yeah. G1 Climax does start on the 18th. I know because I have that like burned into my brain. So yeah, I mean, this summer, especially July, you're right, is going to be absolutely crazy. And again, like
Well,
knowing
and
that
not to mention, I mean, we say July, but then August is Lucha Rewatch with the special guests, and that's going to be incredible.
and SummerSlam, and I
And
think isn't it the start of Bola as well, or no?
well, we won't be able to watch Bola, but it'll be when it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be when it happens. But I know you and I. Did we even do coverage last time, or did we just watch that for
Yeah.
our own enjoyment?
Yeah, we
Yeah, we
did
did.
coverage, but we can't watch it until a month later when the DVD
Right.
gets shipped.
Yeah, so I know like that'll be on the rise, even if not like in this summer, but like so much even wrestling wise is happening this summer, and our coverage more or less matches that.
Right.
And it's just gonna be insane watching
And not
that
to
all
mention,
unfold.
we're still really kind of looking for new promotions to get into. Oh, and by the way, another thing happening in July, WCPW, which we will be covering and live reacting to.
Yeah, that I am morbidly curious about that. I'm hoping it goes well. Never really thought that would happen for them.
Got
Uh,
Will Ospreay, man. I'm in.
Yeah, that Will Ospreay's having a fucking year right now. And that's just it. Like we're doing all this coverage and knowing that you guys are going to be along for the ride with us every step of the way. It definitely eases the heart, I'll tell you, because I think about everything we have ahead. When we get through July, I'm just gonna look at you and be like, yeah, we're legit. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, and then August is going to hit, and we're going to get to cover the rest of G1, including the finals, and we're going to get to do Lucha Rewatch every Wednesday, and we're going to, all this other stuff, and it's going to be like, you know what, dude? The race hasn't even begun yet.
Exactly. Unreal. And, I just can't wait for you guys to see it. We've got so much planned. And yeah, just to have this celebratory commentary, just to thank you guys and just to tell you the future, which I'm guessing we're getting just about ready to reveal that now because I feel like I've said everything that needs to be said. Ash, is there anything you want to say before we really get into more about the future here?
Just more gratitude. I really do appreciate everybody that has stuck with us this whole time, and obviously there have been some things that we said we were going to do that we didn't end up doing. Perfect example very recently was coverage for New Japan's Dominion pay-per-view. We still have to watch it. I don't know if we're going to bother doing live reactions to it at this point, though, just because of how late to the party we would be. It's really hard to do live reactions to a New Japan show that happens on the same Sunday as a WWE pay-per-view.
Right.
So, and then, of course, we had Raw the following day, and then Roman Reigns, and then Wednesdays are just stacked for us anyway. So even if we wanted to do live reactions to Dominion, today would have been the first day we would have had that opportunity.
Right.
And we're doing this instead. So,
yeah.
It's one of those things where, unfortunately, some, non-mainstream U.S. promotions do have to kind of take a back seat to mainstream U.S. promotions. Makes me extremely happy that we don't cover TNA, because that would be just one more frustrating thing that we would have to talk about. But that being said, guys, this is far from the end of the TWitWoW story. This is just the beginning, kind of like what NXT just pulled with NXT TakeOver, the end of the beginning. The 1,000 sub mark was kind of a number that we wanted to hit that would kind of make us feel legitimate, because when you've got a subscriber total that is in the triple digits, it feels good, but it doesn't really carry any weight. But once you hit that 4-digit mark, it kind of feels like you're really kind of making a name for yourself. And once we hit that point, we felt like, okay, now it's time to step up our game. I'm going to just go through the list of all the changes that have already been made. And now I will just add, nothing is getting taken away. Everything that we've been doing this whole time, we're not going to stop doing anything. Everything that we were doing pre 1,000 subs, we're still going to be doing post 1,000 subs. We're just adding stuff. First of all, new logo. Not sure if you saw it, but the new logo is now featured in all of our backgrounds on YouTube. Well, all of our TWitWoW backgrounds on YouTube. Obviously, live reactions aren't technically TWitWoW because TWitWoW is the review series. So new logo. We also have a new t-shirt up and available on Teespring. I have been linking that in as many videos as I possibly can because it has John's amazing intro to every episode of TWitWoW on it on the front, and then his wonderful, succinct outro on the back. I think it's an amazing looking shirt. I designed it myself, so obviously I would think that, but everyone else that's seen it has also said that it looks great, so maybe I'm pretty good at this. We have new backgrounds, which I already kind of mentioned. The new backgrounds feature a couple calls to action, like, subscribe, comment, and that kind of stuff, just because at the end of every episode of TWitWoW, John always goes through this long, drawn-out outro talking about how he wants you to talk to us, subscribe, visit all these different pages. And we also have now those pages are linked, well, not actually linked, but shown on our backgrounds for our TWitWoW episodes. We've got the Twitters for both of us spelled out so we don't have to go through that every time. We've got the Facebook page linked, and we've got the subreddit. The subreddit is also there. And after this, I'm going to have to add a few more things because we are also adding, of course, I'm probably going to have to add the link to the t-shirt just temporarily, but we're also adding to our arsenal the TWitWoW VIP Facebook page / group. I think it's a group technically, where certain people will be given access to the TWitWoW VIP Facebook group, and those specific people will have access to TWitWoW recordings as raw MP3s probably about an hour before anybody else gets to them on YouTube, because that's about how long it takes for me to edit and encode and process and upload and publish any given TWitWoW, and especially the bigger ones like the live reactions to pay-per-views and that kind of stuff. So if you want early access to all of our recordings, or if you just want them in MP3 format, which is a lot easier to put on your phone and listen to on the go than YouTube or MP4 format, you want to be in the Facebook VIP page, TWitWoW VIP. And the way that you do that, which drumroll leads up to, we're also starting a Patreon, which I know, eye rolls. We have so many eye rolls going on right now, but we just want you guys to know. We'll mention it one time per recording. We're not going to be like some people. I'm not going to drop any names, but we're not going to be like some people where we bring it up every 20 minutes on every recording. We'll mention it probably during the intro of every video we do, and then not again for the rest of the video. However, the biggest reason we wanted to start a Patreon is because I've sunk hundreds of dollars into, back in the day, keeping TWitWoW on iTunes, and we'd like to get back on iTunes, but I can't afford to continue to sink said hundreds of dollars into doing that. So we were hoping that our fans, and really the most loyal fans that really feel like TWitWoW is worth more than just time, would be willing to donate a very small monthly sum to work towards the shared goal of getting TWitWoW back on iTunes. We have a Patreon set up where all we need to hit is $20 a month, and we can get TWitWoW back on iTunes. You can download it on your phone. You don't have to pay YouTube Red, which I think is actually a really similar price, but pretty much all that money is going to YouTube and Google, who already have billions, as opposed to us, who actually make the content. And You don't have to worry about the ridiculous battery drain that watching videos, even if they are as simple as just a background with audio on it, watching videos drains a shit ton more battery than listening to MP3s. I know from experience. So if you really want to be able to just listen to TWitWoW on MP3, use iTunes, use whatever podcast viewing / listening / downloading app you have on your phone, Patreon is the way to do it. And this kind of brings me back to the Facebook page, the VIP, the TWitWoW VIP page. If you would like to be considered a TWitWoW VIP, all it costs is $5 a month. $5 a month, and not only are you contributing to TWitWoW getting back on iTunes, but you're also going to be given VIP status where we will be posting raw MP3s before anyone else gets to touch them or hear them or see them or anything. And plus, John and I are both on there, so you'll have more direct access to us than pretty much anyone else. That being said, guys, if you don't want to donate to Patreon, that is perfectly understandable. If you do, it is much appreciated. The 1,000 subscriber special has been an amazing ride. John, I've had a lot of fun talking about all this stuff with you. And at the end of the day, 1,000 isn't anywhere close to where our goals are. We want to hit 10,000 next, and we will not be making another celebration commentary until we get there. I kind of said this early on in the YouTube thing. I made 100 sub thank you kind of thing very early on. And when I hit 200, we had people saying, oh, where's the 200 sub celebration? But we're only going to be worried about multiples of 10. We hit 100 early on. We're hitting 1,000 now. Next one will be at 10,000, and maybe by then we will have another big round of new updates. But if you stuck with us to this point in the commentary, which I know we're going a little long, closing in on the hour mark at this point, but this isn't everything. We also had the new series that we started on Monday, TWitWoW, which we think is going to help to grow the channel significantly because a lot of people are much more interested in short form commentary than listening to our videos about an hour show. But that's not even it, guys. This isn't the end of the new stuff. Again, nothing's going away. Everything's being added. We have a new logo. We have a new t-shirt. We have new YouTube backgrounds. We have new channel art. If you haven't seen that, I changed the name of the channel from Ian Izzle to TWitWoW because it's not my channel anymore. It's ours. I even added the channel art. I added new profile art for Twitter, and John added it as well to his. And we have a custom URL on YouTube now, which is pretty awesome. You can just go to youtube.com/TWitWoW video and you're set. It's awesome. You don't have to type in user. You don't have to type in videos. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Just youtube.com/TWitWoW video and you're set. But then also we've got the new series, TWitWoW, and finally, I'm done stalling, monthly Q&A videos. If you guys have questions for us, all you have to do is send them to us via Twitter, via Facebook, via YouTube comment, anything. Just let us know that you want us to answer the question, and we will add it to our massive backlog of questions to answer in our Q&A series. John, do you have any real kind of idea of exactly what day on each month you want to do these Q&A videos?
I was thinking Fridays would probably be good. Thursdays or Fridays, I would think, because those seem more to be our low-key days, aren't they? Because, like, I know, yeah, we got Monday. Monday would be Raw. Wednesday would be NXT and Lucha. So,
I was
yeah,
thinking
Thursday,
more of
Friday.
a specific date.
Oh, date. I would think more towards the end of the month, right?
Okay.
Because yeah.
Well, let's just do this then. Just because of what you just said, let's do this, guys. Q&A videos from now on will happen on the last Friday of any given month. Does that sound good, John?
That sounds amazing, and guys, I can't wait to see what questions you come up with.
And hey, it doesn't have to just be wrestling questions. I mean, if we feel like it's a little too personal, we'll say we had this question from this person just so you know who you are, and it was a little too personal, so we're not going to answer it and move on. But, you know, we're pretty liberal guys about what kind of information we let you know. Like, there are a lot of podcasts, like the two podcasts that we talk about a lot, Face Lock Feministas and Last Real Heels, those people use work names. Like, it's the Lady J and, you know, Urban Heretic and J-Man. Like, they don't let their real names out there. You know us as John and Ashton. We're
Right.
much more liberal about that kind of thing. We don't really care because the amount of information that's out there already, it's not like us being a little bit more worried about what we tell people on YouTube is going to prevent somebody from getting what they want.
Right. I mean, guys, I'm excited. See, this is what's the really fun part about having a base like what we've achieved today, with over 1,000 subs, is you can do stuff like this. And I think it really is a worthwhile endeavor when you have an audience like this to do monthly Q&As. And I'm just thinking about the questions. Again, Ashton said they don't even have to be about wrestling. So whatever questions you guys would have for me specifically, for Ashton specifically, or both of us, you could title questions, say, hey, this is for both of you guys.
Yeah. Hey, guys, what's your favorite color? Purple.
Red. Ha! So, there
so now
you go.
You can't even ask that question anymore because you know the answer. So, ha!
2 steps ahead every time.
Hey, John, would you rather face 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck?
1 horse-sized duck.
I would kick its ass.
I would kick its ass too, right in the scrotum. Yeah. So
that's but okay.
that's the kind of energy you could expect on Q&As, which should terrify some of you, but in the best possible way. So that's what you have to look forward to. We already talked about the Patreon. Again, any contributions would be much appreciated. So yeah, the future's looking bright, guys, and knowing that you're along for the ride with us, just amazing. I love all you guys. I know I speak for Ashton, saying the same. And yeah, TWitWoW is just going to keep going strong.
Yeah, and just to be a little bit more on the transparent side, guys, regarding the Patreon, I know there are a lot of people out there that are like, oh, well, if you pay $1, I'll follow you on Twitter. Or, oh, if you pay $10, I'll give you a shout out in my video. But it really wouldn't feel right to do that because we already follow a lot of our fans on Twitter. We already shout out. I mean, how many fans did we shout out just on this episode alone? We already talk about people that comment on our videos and tweet at us and Facebook and all that stuff. So really, if you're interested in just kind of having casual conversation with us, Twitter's probably the best way to go. You don't need to pay for it. We're not trying to make you pay to exist in our atmosphere. That's
I mean, look, I mean, not to get harsh here, but to me, that's just such crap, I
mean, it's a little bit more egoistic than I would be willing to sink to, but I mean, I'm not afraid to admit that I've got a bit of an ego, but it only applies to certain things, and people just being able to talk to me isn't one of them.
I mean, look, anybody that knows me knows I'm an asshole, but, I shout out you guys because I love you guys. I love that some of you are even scummier than I am, people that are really after my own heart, like you guys are amazing with the energy you bring, with the feedback you bring, with the passion you bring, and, you
and
don't
hey guys,
need
I'll
to,
tell you what, too. If we get at least 5 questions to answer, actually 5's low, let's go 10. If we get at least 10 questions to answer between now and tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I think we're going to have to make a Q&A video this month already.
I mean, that'd be fine with me. That'd be absolutely...
If we don't get to the 10, it's fine. We'll save them and we'll do the Q&A video next month, but we might have to put out our first Q&A video tomorrow already, which we're already live reacting to ROH, so it would have to happen after that, which could be a little bit crazy. But hey, if the demand is there, you're damn right we'll do it.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So I'm really glad that we got to have this talk, even though you guys aren't going to be replying to us until after this video is already up. I'm sure that we're going to have some very interesting discussions down in the comments. As always, we appreciate you guys so much for sticking around as long as you have. We hope you stick around for a lot longer, and we hope to add to the discussion more people. If you enjoy what we have to say and you have friends that aren't douchebags, share the video, share the content, share the channel, share everything. Let people know that there are reasonable wrestling fans left, and their names are John and Ashton on TWitWoW.